Particularly the manual is a result of very diligent work by the ORPP and is a critical step in guiding political parties on the responsible management of public funds. We are honored to have all of you in attendance, and please accept our warm welcome. And we have organizations, key organizations represented here, whose work has been very pivotal in shaping our democratic processes and advancing transparency in governance. Some of the key partners here are, to start with, our distinguished political parties. We also have key organizations represented here, Transparency International, Election Observation Group, Center for Multi-Party Democracy, National Democratic Institute, IRI. We also have government agencies represented here, particularly Public Sector Accounting Standards Board. We have also Institute of Internal Auditors. We have the National Treasury represented here, and many, many other partners, which I'll not be able to name by name. We have over 20 partners represented here, and please, even if I have not named you by name, feel welcome, and we're very happy to host you here because your participation in this meeting speaks volume about our collective commitment that we share to improve financial integrity within our political systems. So this manual really is going to, we are going to go through it. Somebody is going to take us through it. But what I'm saying is that this meeting today is very important, and we are later going to have the Auditor General's Office taking us also through some of the outcomes, a brief about how the last compliance, financial audit has been, the successes of some of the parties in terms of the audit outcomes, and also maybe a few challenges that the parties might have experienced, so that then we share. So the objective basically is, first of all, to launch the manual, and the primary objective of this manual is to serve as a comprehensive guide for political parties in managing their finances and procurement processes to ensure compliance with both national laws and best practices. We're also here to discuss issues around accountability, and we aim to foster a culture of accountability within our political systems. The manual will provide a clear framework in ensuring that public funds are used efficiently and transparently. Another objective, of course, is also to engage stakeholders and have a feel of what it looks like if people work together and what they can achieve. Because the engagement between the ORPP, the parties, and other key stakeholders in the governance sector will definitely help us clarify some of the issues that might still be gray. And in this meeting, I'm sure at the end of it all, we'll come out a little bit more enlightened on some of the issues that might have not been very clear. This is also a platform to engage and collaborate, and we want to foster collaboration and continue to dialogue with political parties and other stakeholders, and including the oversight bodies. And we are saying that through open communication, we can collectively ensure that political parties operate transparently and are fully in the use of the public funds, just as all the other public entities are supposed to be accountable. Once again, I want to welcome you and thank you very much for accepting our invitation. And today is actually a very big milestone for us in our journey towards ensuring that we are more accountable and we are more transparent as an office, as well as the political parties that we regulate. So thank you very much. Feel welcome, and I'm sure at the end of the day, we will have a very fruitful deliberation and will come out I have just stated. I'm looking forward to discussions and contributions that will arise of our political party governance. Thank you very much, and may God bless you. Now, let me take this opportunity to invite my colleague, CPA Florence Biria, to take us through the remaining parties in charge of regulation and compliance. Thank you.
Auditor General, my senior in the profession, FCPA Nancy Gadangu, the Registrar of Political Parties, Dr. Andy Ritu, the CEO of the Public Sector Accounting Standards Board, my colleague again in the profession, Madam Shai. I also want to recognize my colleague, Assistant Registrar, Mr. Ali, the chair of PPLC. All the representatives from our partners and civil societies in the room, political party representatives, without forgetting IBC in the house and the Institute of Internal Auditors represented in the house. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. So just how our ORPP staff, allow me to stop at that in the interest of time. I recognize each one of you who is in the room. My name is CPA Florence Biria, Assistant Registrar at the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties. And I'm delighted to see each one of you who has spared time to honor our invitation and to grace our occasion. We don't take it for granted. This is the day that the Lord has made, and I can see we are all glad and ready to celebrate. Aren't we? We are. Thank you very much. As my colleague, Mr. Ali, has already alluded to, we are here today to launch the Finance and Procurement Finance Policy and Procedure Manual for Political Parties in Kenya, and indeed, it's a milestone that we are celebrating as an office, but also as a country, towards enhancing democracy in Kenya. Because we're told that democracy is not cheap. And when we say it is not cheap, it entails resources. And those resources require prudent financial management, accountability, transparency, effective and legal allocation and consumption. And that's why today we are in this room and in this space to celebrate the milestone that we have achieved in as far as ensuring prudence in financial management is concerned. Thank you very much, each one of you. We'll make it a bit short because this is, as you've been told, there's 2 parts. And without going far, I want to say that today I'll be the moderator of the program. I believe we all have a copy of the program on the tables. Are we good? We are good? Thank you. We look a bit sad, eh? And I'm wondering, am I the only one who's celebrating today? Okay, I know financial management accountability is not an easy thing, but it's something we have to learn to live with. Accountability and transparency. And the Gen Zs have called us to that. And the earlier we embrace it, the better. And we are here to facilitate that. So I'll be moderating the program for today. And quickly, without further ado, I would want to bring on board our Finance and Accounts Director. Finance and Accounts Director, Mr. Joshua Kimulu. He has a presentation to make briefly, just to take us through the finance policy and procedure manual, basically what we expect in that document. He will not go into details because at the end of the day, we'll all go home with a copy of that document. Thank you and welcome, Mr. Kimulu. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, CPA Florence, for this opportunity. As CPA has mentioned, I'm Joshua Kimulu, and I'll be presenting an overview of the political parties, finance accounts, and procurement policy and procedure manual on behalf of the office. As a matter of introduction, the manual is an operational guide, and it provides day-to-day operations of the finance accounts and procurement functions of the political parties. And the aim of this one is to ensure that there is prudent financial management within political parties. So the essence of the office for this manual is to empower political parties in their quest for efficient and effective utilization of allocated resources. Because as you know that political parties do get resources from the public, that is through the Political Parties Fund, and also all political parties, they get also resources from membership subscriptions and other sources. So, so it is important to ensure these finances are used in the prudent way. So the manual was developed through a consultative and participatory process, which involved various stakeholders. And one of the key stakeholders when the office was developing this manual was the political parties. So we had quite a number of sessions with political parties, which we engaged during the development of this manual. And also there was the Office of the Auditor General was involved in the development of the manual, and also the National Treasury and other relevant stakeholders. So it was a very, very consultative process which was used in the development of this critical document. And the manual is for all the political parties, both fully registered and also professionally registered. And it in the development of the manual, it was guided by the Constitution and all the applicable legislations. We had the Public Finance Management Act, there is a Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act, Public Audit Act. We had the Treasury Circulars, Political Parties Act 2011, and all the attendant regulations. So it involved all the legal documents when we were developing this important document. So in terms of the structure of the document, it's structured into 8 chapters. As you can see from the presentation, we have an introduction, then we have a whole chapter on Political Parties Fund, then there's also a chapter on budget management and control, then there's expenditure management and control, then we have financial reporting and oversight, because you know after the money is allocated to you or your funds, you are supposed there's execution of the funds, then there's a reporting, and then the auditing part of it. Then we have a whole chapter on procurement processes and procedures, what is the political parties they are supposed to do in there when they are doing their procurement processes. Then also there's a chapter on risk management, and then there's a monitoring, evaluation, and the reporting. So that's how the document is structured. In chapter 1, there's a background of Political Parties Fund and other sources, which are critical, and this is the essence of developing this document. So there's just a background of Political Parties Fund. Then there's the ORPP role in the management of Political Parties Fund. As you know, the law authorizes the Registrar to administer and manage the Political Parties Fund in terms of the disbursement, the issue of work planning, approvals, all those ones. So that there's a whole part which entails that. Then there's the scope of the manual, and the manual is for all the, as I've said, all the fully registered political parties and all the population registered political parties. Then we have the objective of the manual, and that Assistant Registrar Adisuro has just mentioned the objectives of the manual. Then there's a legal framework governing the public finance, and they are the ones which I've just mentioned, and which were the critical when we were developing, the office was developing this document. Then there are accounting principles, concept, and policies. So they are all well captured in the document. So chapter 2, as I have said, is dedicated to the Political Parties Fund, and this chapter elaborates more in terms of Political Parties Fund. It gives a genesis on how the Political Parties Fund was established, and then the deliberations in terms of Political Parties Fund started in around 1991, 19 to 1923, there were some deliberations which were put forward in terms of coming up with a political parties fund. But around 2001 is when a bill was fronted in terms for the development of the Political Parties Fund. But it's until 2007 when now the Political Parties Act 2007 was developed, and now that is it established Political Parties Fund. And then there is the 2011, after the promulgation of the Constitution, that Political Parties Act 2011 was developed, and now it had a chapter, a whole part in terms of Political Parties Fund. So that one is well captured in the document, and also the document has stated the reasons why political parties should be funded, because political parties, like any other institution, they are democratic institutions, and they have expenditures which they are supposed to meet. And those one includes recruitment of members. They have bills to cater, offices, and all those ones. So it has an elaborate parts why it's in justification why political parties should be funded. Then there is the issue of the establishment of the fund that I've already said. Then the sources of the fund, as you know that there is the source of fund is 0.3% of the national revenue, as divided by the Revenue Act. And then there is donations from other local sources. Then there is also a part in term which elaborates on global perspective in Political Parties Fund. When the officer did a lot of research on this, and they found that other most countries, there is also political parties are funded by public. And some of the countries which already the officers benchmarked, we have Tanzania, our neighbors here within the East Africa. We have South Africa, we have Germany, we have Netherlands, among others. So these are the some of the countries where political parties are publicly funded. The difference is only the criteria, which is only the difference. But most of the countries, political parties, they are funded from government for funding. Then we have the distribution criteria of the Political Parties Fund, which is there, and also even it has also indicated an example. Now, if you want to calculate how much money you and the party are entitled, so there's an example which is given in the money. And also it has, since 2011-2012, the document has shown what the political parties were entitled to being given from the public funds and how much was allocated across the years up to last financial year. So that one is well captured in the document. Then there's restriction on use of the fund, because it's not just free that you are supposed to use money annually. So there are restrictions on the use of the political parties fund, and also there are sanctions if you don't abide by the law. Then we have the law of the accounting officer in public in political parties fund. So that is generally how the chapter 2 is structured. Then chapter 3 is on budget management and control. And that one now we have shown how the political parties they are supposed to do on the budget preparation process, the sources of the funds that they are supposed to get. So that one is well elaborated in the document. Then we have the issue of budget presentation. What are the components that political parties they are supposed to put when they are doing presenting the budget, and the whole process on the of approval of the budget within the political parties organs. Then also it captures in terms of constitutional and budget implementation committee within political parties, which is very critical because the one which is supposed to oversee the issues of budget implementation and also advise the accounting officers within political parties. So there is how the political parties they are supposed to establish budget implementation committee, and what are the responsibilities of those budget implementation committees. Then there is the issue of budget execution and control, how they are supposed to use that money, and also there is budget tracking and monitoring. In any expenditure or when you are expending, you have to track the budget so that you don't misallocate the allocated resources. You are supposed to use the budget for the right purpose for which it was intended. So this chapter 3, it has dealt on all that in detail, and you will see it when the money will be launched. Then we have chapter 4 is on expenditure management and control, how to do, because now after you have the sources, maybe you have gotten the money from the Political Parties Fund and the other sources which the political parties they get, like those are membership fees, we have donations and such. Now there's the issue of expenditure. So this chapter shows how you are supposed to expend money and what controls are supposed to be there. We have a document which is called portable control, which shows if it's if there's some allocated resources, how much is it, what we have used, and what is imbalance, and the money is supposed to be itemized so that you don't just use the money at lump sum without any guide. So we have the portable control. We have work plan preparation. Because for you, when you are starting to use funds, you should be guided by work plan. So the document shows how you are supposed to, as political parties, you are supposed to develop your work plans. Then now also it has the finance and accounts functions, because that finance and accounts function department or unit or whatever you call it in the political parties is very critical. So it has elaborated and listed what are the functions of finance and account functions, and which is integrated so that one officer cannot do all the processes from the beginning to the end. There should be controls. So this one is well indicated in the document. Then there's the process of payment management, how payments can be done. And that is what I was saying, one officer cannot do from the budgeting, executing, up to the payment, everything. So there's this process well elaborated in the document. Then there's the issue of bank reconciliation. How as political parties, you are supposed to do your bank reconciliation. We have also asset management. Because as political parties, you are institutions and you acquire equipment and assets. Then also usage of those assets in terms of also on disposal. So there is that part which is in the document. Then there's the issue of accountable documents, and accountable documents which are used in the financial processes. We have receipt books, we have LPOs, LSOs, and all those ones. So there's a chapter which shows what are the accountable documents and how they are supposed to be treated and also to be used. So that one is all captured under chapter 4 on expenditure management and control. Then we go to chapter 5, and that is financial reporting and oversight. And I know most of you, it has been said that by end of this month, you will be required to have prepared your financial statement and submitted to the Office of the Auditor General for audit. And now there's that reporting. And there are templates which has been also provided by the Public Sector Accounting Standards Board. So now this one chapter has dealt on that and the issue of even oversights within political parties themselves. So that chapter has shown, indicated what are the objectives of financial reporting in terms of prudent utilization of public resources, accountability, and all that. Then also it has also indicated as you proceed to prepare your reports, what kinds of reports you are supposed to prepare in the process. We have monthly reports, we have quarterly reports, we have annual financial reports, which you are almost about to submit if you have not to the Office of the Auditor General, and also we have statutory reports. It's a requirement as in the implementation on your budget, especially when you are using the public funds, to be submitting some key reports to key government agencies. We have we have Office of the Control on Budget. There are reports which you will be required to be submitting some reports on quarterly. We have the National Treasury among others, and then the financial statements, which at the end of the financial, by September, you are supposed to submit to the Office of the Auditor General, National Treasury, Control Budget, and the Commission on Revenue Allocation. So that one is indicated. Then there's the issue of publishing and sources of funds. That's a requirement of the law, which you are supposed to do. So there's a whole part which has dealt on that. Then there's the audit of financial statement, which is captured under that part. We have chapter 6 is on procurement processes and procedures. And this has dealt on now you are supposed to do your procurement processes and procedures. Because we have Public Procurement Assistance and Disposal Act, which you have to follow, and there are requirements. So it has shown what are the procurement functions. that you are supposed to do in this chapter, whereby you have to also to prepare procurement plan, because you should not be just procuring and good without any guide. Then issues of tenders, all those, so it's all captured in this document. Then there's the role of accounting officer in the procurement process, because the accounting officer of political parties has a very big role in terms of to play in terms of accounting process. So that one is indicated in the document. Then also the issues of principles of procurement, the issues of competition, issues of competition among others, they have been indicated in the document. Then we have guidelines to ethical procurement, what you are supposed to do when you are carrying out a procurement function. Then we have general procurement rules and also methods of procurement and procedures. The document has indicated various methods of procurement, which include open tender, restricted tender, request for quotation, among others. And when you can be able to apply those specific procurement methods, so that one you find it. Then there's the issues of contract management, because when you are carrying out procurement, there are contracts so that you have to enter. So it indicates, the document has shown how you are, because once you acquire some goods and goods, sometimes you may be required to dispose those assets. So that was indicated. Then we have a whole area on procurement records. On chapter 7, is risk management, and it assesses what are possible risks for a political party, and then how to mitigate these risks, and also benefits of risk management. Then we have issues of risk matrix is indicated